Welcome back to Utah Motorsports Campus here in Tooele. It's the Championship of Utah. And it's the MotoAmerica AMA FIM North American Road Race Championship, right around 5 of 10 for 2019. And it's looking pretty good to race today. When we showed up here, though, at Utah Motorsports Campus, we've been here a couple times with different track configurations. They have several, and this is a new one for MotoAmerica, 2.2 miles. It's got all kinds of funky names to it, like Fast, Faster, Ecstasy, Maybe You'll Make It, the Attitudes. But for more on what this new configuration brings to MotoAmerica and what it has to offer, let's get to Jason Pridmore, who did a little feature for us about UMC.
One of the things that's made Utah Motorsports Campus iconic in the past is the big, long, 180-plus mile-an-hour run down this front straightaway. This year, we're doing something a little bit different. As you look back, you can see the run out of the last corner, up through and over the start-finish line. Down here in turn one, though, it's quite a bit shorter. We're probably only going to see one, maybe two downshifts into this corner, which now is going to make the start even more important as well. So qualifying is going to be imperative as a rider. There'll be a number of different ways through this turn one, but this is just part of the new section of running that we're going to have this weekend. One of the things that caught my attention when we decided to run a shorter version of the Utah Motorsports Campus, where's all the passing going to happen? Where's the action? Turn 2 to turn 3 is one of those spots where I think that we'll see some passing, especially some lunges up the inside, and especially from turns 3 to turns 4. As the race winds down and it gets closer to the finish, this is going to be some specific spots that I want to make sure to not leave the door open to let somebody sneak up the inside of me. So now you've made the run out of turn 5. Coming down here towards turn 6. It's going to be a downhill run where you might see a downshift in there. More importantly, you might see some more racing action as far as passes go. Once we get into turn 6, it's a double apex all the way through to turn 7, which leads down to the famous attitudes. Importance is to get out of this corner they call ecstasy. The reason? Because I don't want to have anybody sneak up underneath me, especially in those closing laps again, as we head down into the attitudes. From that part of the track on, it becomes very hard to pass. I think this corner is going to play a pivotal role in our races this weekend.
Well, good job, Jason. You look like you're really moving around well, especially with that leg that's healing up there, your broken leg from Phillip Island earlier on in the year. But so after you've shot that feature and now had a chance to look at Liqui Moly Junior Cup, what do you think? Because when you had a chance to do that, it was right before we saw tracks or bikes on track.
Bikes on track, yeah. So I was doing it a little bit blind. I'd ridden here one time before, about 10 years ago, Greg, and so I remembered a little bit of it. But this morning when I went out and watched all the sessions, I was pretty accurate on my assumptions that it was going to be a second and third gear track mostly, especially for the 600s and the 1000s. Some of the 600s click fourth in one or two spots. It just depends on the setup that you're wanting, you know?
Yeah, definitely. So what have you heard from some of the riders? Because the things I'm hearing is that a lot of the riders I spoke with, especially on the superbike side, said that this track is a lot more fun than they thought it was going to be when they showed up here.
I've heard that it's very labor intensive. You know, it's going to be one of those physically demanding tracks. I think it's going to be a place where the racing is going to be very tight. It's very difficult to pass, so it's going to make that very interesting for, I think, our races as we move forward throughout the weekend. But most of the riders, I haven't heard anything really bad about it, which is nice. It's kind of a fun change maybe to some of the tracks we've ridden.
Here's a look at our starting grid. Hayden Gillim on pole, 131.983. Bobby Fong in second spot. Richi Escalante, your front row. John Dylan Kelly on the gas, as we expect. The rookie sensation still getting after it. Then you have PJ and Josh Hayes. Bryce Prince, Nick McFadden, and Braden Ort on row number 3.
Yep, then we go back to Lucas Silva, Ashton Yates, and Jarrett Nassani, who just continues to get better on that Altus Motors bike. Good to see Jarrett with a good, solid qualifying position. Then we go back to Benjamin Smith, Jason Aguilar, Caroline Olsen with her best qualifying of the year in 15th. Corey Ventura, Alejandro Thermiotis, and Aaron Graham. Good to see Aaron. We talked to him a little bit yesterday. He had an incident here last year, Greg. It's good to see him back here again. Robert Pierce, Nolan Lampkin, who had an off this morning. Jason Johnson roll out row 7. And then we got Jeremy Simmons, Jeremiah Walker, and Michael Kim back there in row 8.
Jason, this field, I understand Hayden Gillim, a 131.9, significantly quicker than Bobby Fong at the moment, but It's a 2-day schedule. It's the second time we've run it, but MotoAmerica, after our first time, which was VIR, sent out a survey and asked teams what they wanted to see. So there's been some adjustments in the schedule, so this is our second kind of go at it. But it's been very short and very frantic as well.
Yes.
So in the Junior Cup, we saw nearly 2 seconds a lap faster in the race than we did in qualifying. Do you think that we're going to see something like that here in the Supersport race?
I don't believe that we're going to see lap time. I think as overall a field are going to go faster. Hayden Gillim, what he was showing me this morning, the consistent lap times he was doing, and we'll get more into it in the broadcast, some of the things I noticed that he was doing different than some of the other riders. I think as the field goes, we'll see some riders definitely improve their times. But I think that the guys up in the front are going to be chasing Hayden Gillim all day. He has been incredibly fast this morning, and it'll be interesting to see if he can get to that grid, to that line first. Now, the other thing, Greg, I think coming back to Utah Motorsports Campus, guys like Hayden and some of the other Yamahas were probably happy to see that because we weren't using the full front straightaway.
Yeah.
Because the Suzukis have been so fast. So I think it's a very great effort by both Bobby Fong and Sean Dillon Kelly to show that, hey, we can run on these shorter tracks as well. And they're going to be the ones that are going to have to try to take it up on. And we see it there. It looks like the outside, just from our broadcasting position, we can see out our windows turn one. It looks like Richi Escalante, who is, where did he end up? He's not in the front row, isn't he, Greg?
Yeah, P3.
He is P3. It looks like he is stalled on the outside of turn one. Just looking. Looks like he's got the bike going. I didn't see if he had an incident. I didn't see if the bike, or I do believe that's Richie.
Yeah, it definitely might be. But anyway, looking at Bobby Fong, here's a look at the points. Bottom right-hand part of your screen. You see number 4, Josh Hayes, who just decided that with his MP13 team that he was coming racing in this one. And not having the greatest weekend at Road America, but now this kind of racetrack suits Josh Hayes for sure.
It really does. I mean, him to qualify 6th, get on that second row. I talked to Melissa Paris a little bit prior, and she was frantic because Josh had an off in the first practice this morning. She only had 45 minutes, her and her team, to get that bike together. They did a great job getting Josh back out there. Obviously got him in those first 2 rows, which I think is really important here. If you get in those first 2-3 rows, you got to shop. That turn 1 is going to get busy and hectic. I just want to see everybody get through that turn 1 as clean as they can, because I think as a field, Greg, you're going to see a lot of really close battles.
And looking forward in the Supersport race, similar to Liqui Junior Cup, the fastest time that you set in the race today will determine your grid position for tomorrow. So it doesn't matter where you finish, but whatever time you do. So you could be 20th and set the fastest time, and you're going to be on pole. Hayden Gillim testing the brakes, making sure there's enough heat in the brakes as well.
Getting heat in that front tire as well, Greg, so because he knows if he can get a good start, he's going to be peeling it off there in front of a full grid of riders. What do we got? We got 24, 25 riders going into turn 1. He wants to make sure he's got plenty of heat, and we're waiting for the Richi Escalante bike to come up on that front row, and you can see he is coming, but he was definitely stalled on the outside of turn 1. I'm looking to see there's nothing hanging off the bike, so I don't believe he tipped off or anything, Greg. I'm just not sure what happened.
So the Hudson Motorcycles rider in the mix on the front row, and we're ready to go. Hayden Gillim, left part of your screen on the Rickdiculous Racing purple and yellow Yamaha. Closest to turn number 1. Can he get the jump and lead us in? Lights are yellow.
We got yellow flag.
Waving.
Jarrett Nassine, it looked like he stalled his bike there, Greg, on row 4. So the red lights are still on. Yellow flags are out. The first 3 rows cannot see. The first 3 rows cannot see the yellow flags. So the whole grid marshal should be yellow flag, and so those guys in row 1, 2, 3 can see the yellow flags.
Yeah, that's the problem with the front row. They don't really know what's going on behind them. Bobby Fong with his hand in the air.
Start's delayed, Greg. We can see it from our timing thing here. Start is delayed. So they did that because Jarrett had thrown his arm up there in row number 4. The guys in the front are gesturing, but they just don't know that there was a problem behind them. That's all.
Yeah, now, of course, tires are cooling off. So the effort that Hayden Gillim put in to get that front tire, what he was doing was just kind of bouncing that front and getting it to oscillate to try to get more heat in it, make sure the brakes were working, all that stuff. All the work he had done, all for naught right now as the tires continue to cool down.
Yeah, and I'm looking out right now, and race directions up in the tower there above start-finish line are kind of they're sitting there right now deciding what they're going to try to do.
Do they give them another warm-up lap?
I'm not sure what they're going to do.
It's a shorter race, Jason.
Yeah.
So, but not everybody's going to go out on a full fuel load. Some of the teams that are more sophisticated, as today, the start's being delayed.
Yep.
So today the race is 15
flag.
laps long, where tomorrow it's going to be 19.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that everybody's got extra fuel in the tank necessarily. So that becomes a question. Do they have another lap in the tank? Do the teams need to come back and take a look at it? So
there's going to be a mandatory stop now, or like a time, Greg, where you can see the crews, the mechanics, and everybody else are running out onto the grid, and they're going to probably throw some warmers on. Maybe like, I believe it's a 5 or 10 minute. We'll try to get some verification on that now. But just as they were getting ready to go green, I could see Jarrett back there in row 4 just throwing his arm up in the air. He'd be on our right side of our screen now as you're looking. And that was just enough to get some of the yellow flags out. So those guys in the first 3 rows just didn't know that. Now they're being told.
Yeah, because if any rider has a bike stalled on the grid, if they go full race start, it can be very dangerous because oftentimes racers will have their heads down focused on that start and might not see somebody in front of them.
And I'm looking at something here. Yeah, I could see it. Bobby Fong looks like he has a problem. He actually has a problem on the bike. What is that, Greg? Is it? I don't think it's an oil line or anything, is it?
Yeah, it looks like possibly a drain hose.
Yeah, some sort.
I don't know if it was clogged or...
And, you know, sometimes we get up in this heat and the bikes can start to overheat. It would be unusual for that to happen maybe after just one warm-up lap, but they sat there, and that's the thing, is that with the thin air up here and things, the bikes tend to run a little bit hotter. I heard a couple of guys, riders, talking about that this morning.
Yeah. When you look at these motorcycles, performance here at Utah Motorsports Campus at the elevation that we are, the air is a little bit thinner, so the bikes run a little bit warmer. Additionally, you don't have as much oxygen density up here, so the air that's coming into the air box as well, that could cool the fuel and everything. Just in the way, of course, engines work, all that stuff, you lose about, well, there's been a debate, 12 to 15% horsepower when we come up here. So one of the things that we always laugh about, Jay, when we go around talking to riders, say, hey, how's it going? Oh, my bike feels
so slow.
It's like, your bike feels slow every year we come up here.
Bike needs to be put on the dyno. It's slow. No, it's not. And it is weird, though, when you get on a 1,000 Superbike or something that you're used to really having to manage, or something that you really respect, then you get here and you kind of think, wow, I'm getting on the gas in places I think I should, but it just feels different. And then even on the 600, it's the same way all the way down and through.
So it looks like Bobby's crew working on
trying to cool it.
Yeah, just trying to keep it cool. Keep in mind too, depending on where, if it has start assist or doesn't have start assist, where the RPMs were, everybody was geared up and ready to go racing. So, you know, engine RPM was up and everything was good. So now, all that adrenaline flowing, you're crashing now, Jay. Like, you've been through this before. What are you thinking as a rider?
No, you just got to get back into your program and think about what it is you want to do, and just, you know, your goals are nothing like that has changed. You don't have to reset goals. You don't have to do anything. It's just going to happen a little bit later now. And obviously, MotoAmerica did that out of safety, which you can never fault, which is good on them. And it's the same for everybody right now. So it's not like anybody's got any kind of big advantages or anything. They're going to get plenty of heat in these tires again. They're going to send them out for a warm-up lap, and we'll get this race started.
And there's a possibility they're going to cut the number of laps down a little bit in this one. So 15 scheduled for today's race. Like I said, 19 for tomorrow. Most of that has to do with the fact of how the schedule ends up working out during the day, and the fact that you have to get qualifying in and practices in for the 5 classes we have here at this event. All right, so we're about 5 minutes from the start, 3 minutes from the horn itself, when they're going to have people get on the bikes and get out of here.
Lap times are short here, as we know. I'm trying to think if there's a track that we go to, Greg, that the lap times are shorter than here. I think Laguna, they get into the 20s there. So this is a minute. This is a minute 30. But see, here's the problem: is that right underneath Bobby's bike, you can see that there is some water and stuff that has been dropped. They've just released it out of his belly pan, so that should dry up pretty quick. But it's definitely something you got to take into consideration.
So belly pan's part of the safety procedures here. We're going to take a break. On the other side of this break, we're going to get this race 1 started here from Utah Motorsports Campus. It's MotoAmerica Supersport. Welcome back to Utah Motorsports Campus, where it looks like we're going to get this race 1 underway. That delay, though, caused problems for Bobby Fong. Hannah, what do you know?
So I guess originally the delayed start was caused by Braden Ort, who stalled his bike. He had put his hand up because he was having trouble, but because the rest of the bikes were on the throttle for so long, something in Bobby's bike got a little too hot and started smoking, which caused a further delay.
Okay, it looks like they have that thing all sorted out. So it was either smoke or possibly even steam. And drama for number 72.
Thermiotis, is it?
72 is Carlos Garcia.
Yep.
Out of Mexico on the Honos bike, so they got that thing going.
Yeah, I saw Jared actually was I believe the one, because he had his arm in the air and he was trying to figure out how to get his bike restarted. And but yeah, that's just the front row. That's what the problem was. Those guys, the lights were getting ready to go out, and they're all on the gas, so they're all giving it a bunch of RPM, and yeah, that's why they're overheating. But now we're on our way.
Yep.
And that was a very, very short controlled delay there. So.
Just a reminder, Hayden Gillim is on pole position with Bobby Fong and Richi Escalante on the front row. Sean Dillon Kelly, PJ Jacobson, he's number 99, and the veteran Josh Hayes on row number 2. Then you have Bryce Prince, Nick McFadden, Braden Ort on row 3. Lucas Silva, Ashton Yates, and Jared Nassani, who you think he was right behind Braden Ort. So literally on the grid, they're 9th and 12th.
They're right behind each other. Correct.
Then you have Benjamin Smith in 13th, Jason Aguilar 14th, Caroline Olsen, fast lady from Norway, in 15th spot. Corey Ventura continues to race it up back in the series. Carlos Garcia, you saw on the 72 bike. Alejandro Thermiotis in 18th. Aaron Graham, Robert Pierce, Nolan Lampkin, Jason Johnson, and Jeremy Simmons. 23 riders who made the field in this one. We do have a qualifying cutoff. So if you don't make the qualifying time, you don't get to take the grid. But like I said before, this race, your fastest time versus everyone else's fastest time in this race will determine where we line up tomorrow.
When you look at 31.9, that's 2 seconds off Superbike pole. Yeah, so when we come to some of these shorter tracks, we can tend to see that a little bit. No big long straightaways here for the Superbikes to really breathe. But the corner speed that the guy on our screen had this morning, and the way he was just letting the bike flow and roll through some of these turns was incredible, just being out there watching it. So here we go again, G-Dub, with this start.
All right, so Rickdiculous Racing looking on as their rider Hayden Gillim left bottom part of your screen, trying to get it done. It's time to go racing. Clutches are out. Fong with a great launch. So Fong looks like he's going to take over. And Hayden, for a moment I thought he was going to be swallowed up there by Richi Escalante, who got inside that curbing.
It's a great start from Bobby Fong, exactly what he needed to do. Now we're going to be able to see where Hayden's making up time or not making up time from qualifying this morning. This is a fast turn 3 that leads into that segment that I was talking about earlier in our broadcast. This is from turn 4 now into turn 5. You see Bobby, it's really hard to pass anybody in there because the fastest of that left kind of rolls you over into that right and gets you in there tight. Bobby Fong leads them off into turn 6. Now they're going to have a short run down to this turn 7, back downhill. Hayden Gillim, Richi Escalante, and Sean Dillon Kelly in tow.
M4 ECSTAR Suzuki's running 1 and 4 with a couple Yamahas in between, trying to settle this for themselves. So tight
Bryce
in there.
Prince goes up underneath Nick McFadden in between turns 6 and 7.
A lot of confidence on the paint here at Utah Motorsports Campus when it's dry.
And you can see there's PJ Jacobson just on the back end of this leading 4 or 5 guys. And then we got Braden Ort behind him. Josh Hayes is sitting right on the back end of Sean Dillon Kelly now. Hayden Gillim is tucked in behind, and it looks like he's going to try to make a dive up the inside, Greg, as they go into turn. Wow!
That was so tight.
Yep.
Bobby Fong moved wide, but he's able to continue on. So Hayden Gillim forces the issue, and he'll take over the lead.
And we've seen that from Hayden before, and this is where the rest of the field has to be careful not to let this guy get away. Once he gets into his flow at a short little track like this, again, Hayden's a big guy. He can use his size to his advantage, especially when we don't have any big straightaways to really draft and try to go back by him. And you can see that gap has already started just a little bit, Greg.
And Josh Hayes fans, he's up in the 5th spot at the moment, trying to make a charge on Sean Dillon Kelly. So Hayden Gillim has it his way, a clean racetrack in front of him. The race distance reduced from 15 to 14 with that small delay. Now what does Bobby Fong and his team have in the tank? What have they done to the setup from last qualifier to this particular session? You can see Fong closes up on the back of Gillim. So Fong not giving up just yet.
No, he's not going to. But this morning, just watching Bobby, there was a few places where he ran a little different lines, and PJ Jacobson goes up underneath Josh Hayes as they roll into turns 6 and 7. Josh had lost contact a little with Sean Dillon Kelly, and PJ was there to take advantage of it. So I'm not sure if Josh made a mistake further back in that little section.
I know when PJ went by him, Hayes had just gone through the grass, like right off the racetrack, and spit up some dust.
Okay, all right.
So I think some focus issues for Hayes at the moment as he tries to race himself back into race form. But up front, Rickdiculous Racing, 69, Hayden, Gillim, Bobby Fong, M4 ECSTAR Suzuki. The number 54, Richi Escalante, who's been a shining star this year on the Hudson Motorcycles Yamaha R6.
And I think right now, Bobby's going to get a chance to really see where the times were that he might have been losing on Hayden this morning. So he's getting a good opportunity right now while tires are new to be able to see where Hayden could have been making some of those advantages. You can see how Hayden just kind of rolls even around that last corner. His line is a foot or two above where Bobby exited, and he just kind of lets the bike go as they roll down into this turn one. There's that couple little patches that you heard Hayden talk about at the top of the show before our start. Out over that paint into this very fast turn 3 section. And Bobby is going with, we're looking at 32.3, fastest lap of the race from Bobby Fong.
So Fonger's not giving up. The number 50 on the gas.
And that's almost half a second quicker than he had qualified.
Wow.
So yeah, that's a good sign for him.
Yeah, the team has definitely got something sorted out for the Californian Fong. So it's Kentucky versus California. As Hayden Gillim, he has the situation that he's wanted. Just to get out front, get up here to Utah Motorsports Campus, where horsepower doesn't make as much of a difference as some other tracks. And of course, just the size of Hayden. He's fit, but he's just tall, and he's got broad shoulders, and he punches a big hole in the air. It takes a lot of horsepower to pole vault him through the atmosphere as quickly as a smaller rider like Fong.
The other guys right now are just lost touch with these two, and really, Greg, it's that first split. When you look at that first split, these guys are half a second quicker than the third place rider, Richi Escalante, in that first split, which is our longest here, about a 45-second split. But Bobby is just going to school, watching what Hayden's doing. And really, when you have a track like this, it's difficult to pass. You're looking for any opportunity that you might be able to use further on down the line. We got a shorter race today, only 14 laps. So he's just going to have to sit there, kind of watch what's going on. And he's done a really good job just getting on the back of Hayden Gillim. The other thing I like that he said too, Greg, before the start, Bobby, he said, hey, we're going to do the best we can. We're going to try to get points. And if we need to make our bike a little better tomorrow, that's what we're going to do.
Richi Escalante. The big talking point for Richie this season has been his performance on new tires. He prefers when the tires start to give up a little bit, start to lose a little bit of that fresh, really grippy rubber, and it moves around slightly. That's when he's at his best. So can we see Escalante with a good setup? Even though he's losing touch now, make no mistake, it's early in this race. Escalante could be making the charge as the laps wear on.
Yeah, they're just in this first sector, Greg. They're just dropping these guys so big, and it's
they just keep setting fast.
Yeah, they just keep on going. Purple and green on our screens. Purple is the fastest outright lap of that person and the whole field. When it's green, that's the fastest of that rider, and both these guys keep going purple and green in the first sector over and over.
Bobby with the carrot in front of him. Gillim having to do it on his own, and you can see that Hayden, he's so aware of the size, especially on a Supersport machine, that he just gets into a tuck. He tries to keep it so tidy behind the bubble most of the time. Very efficient rider when it comes to aerodynamics, as efficient as he possibly can be.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. And he's got to just be laughing that there's not going to be any big long straights where he's got to be in this position for a long time. You know, you're not going to feel anybody drafting by you or anything on these bikes here. There's just not enough room.
And he gets the full lean angle to turn one so early.
Yeah, and that little bit that they just went through there, there's a little bit of crown there where you come up over. If you look in the background too, Sean Dillon Kelly has made his way through on Richi Escalante.
Left part of your screen, you can see the running order. That'll adjust by splits. So each time they go through the different sectors of racetrack that are divided up for riders to be able to see where they're fast, where they're slow. That's part of the movement that you will see. So it's Gillim, Fong, Kelly, Escalante, PJ Jacobson, ahead of Hayes, Bryce Prince, Nick McFadden, Braden Ort, and Lucas Silva in 10th spot. Lucas Silva doing a great job.
Doing a great job. And that's a guy that we haven't talked about enough probably this year, Greg. He's been consistently running in our top 10 this year, has Lucas. On a Suzuki, we've seen him on R6s in the past. But back up to this battle at the front, Bobby's done a really good job just kind of hanging in, kind of waiting his time now.
And just putting the pressure on Gillim.
Yes, that's what you got to do.
You're really forcing him. Okay, have a clean race.
Yep.
Let's see how you go. Don't put a wheel wrong, because I am right here and ready to just take the spot if you're going to give it to me.
Your goal, if you're Bobby, is to just continue to see that Rickdiculous racing board say +0 on it.
Yeah, really.
Right, and that's what he wants to keep on showing Hayden that I'm right behind you. But Hayden's you know, obviously Hayden's been around a while, very much a veteran rider, a lot of skill. And the thing about him is that he's not going to be worried because he knows how hard it's going to be for to get past.
There's a race fan looking on to see what kind of lap times. Just to let you know, 132.831 last time by for Gillim, a 132.7. So nearly identical times with Fong going 1/10 of a second quicker. The rest of the riders, Jay, you're talking about it. Sean Dillon Kelly, Richi Escalante in the 33s, PJ Jacobson, Josh Hayes, Bryce Prince, all in the 34s. Working on back. By the way, through the field in 15th spot, Corey Ventura battling with Caroline Olsen. Those two just did their fastest laps of the race at 34.9 and 35.7. So doing lap times competitive with the middle of the field. All about that race start, though.
Yeah, you got to get a good start here, and if you get boxed in at all, it makes it definitely a lot harder. Here's that battle for third. These guys kind of look like the two in front. They're just locked together, doing the same times. Sean Dillon Kelly got past Richi Escalante about 2 laps ago, and Richie now is trying to pace himself a little bit off of what Sean is doing. You see just a little bit wide, that makes that turn back a little bit harder. Sean Dillon Kelly looked pretty clean through that little section.
Just about a month ago, turning 17 years old, Sean Dillon Kelly on that M4 ECSTAR Suzuki. Rookie year in MotoAmerica, continues to learn. I know that he wants to be closer to these two riders so he can get that education. The on-the-job training for Sean Dillon Kelly, but this time it's not playing out exactly the way he wanted it to, but for these two guys.
Yeah,
Hayden Gillim, 69.
A little bit of a league of their own right now, of course, these two guys. And, you know, this morning it was really good because I watched Bobby just kind of chip away at the times. When he was 1.3 back, I saw Bobby he was just consistent lap after lap. You saw him say earlier on that he had pretty consistent pace. He just kept chipping away at that lead, and that's what he's been able to do. And now he's getting to see that pace right smack in front of him.
Number 40 SDK out of Miami, Florida. Being chased around by the 54, Escalante out of Mexico City, Mexico. These two riders have definitely had some good podium battles. And it's who we talk about when we talk about third place finishes, second place finishes. Today's not the day, unless Hayden Gillim and Fong have a big problem. Doesn't look like it's going to be the day for the top of the podium for Sean Dillon Kelly and Escalante. But both young riders, both learning every time they get out on this track. And Jay, we talked about it. We only got on track this morning.
Yeah.
So it's just a huge learning curve of not only how to ride this track, but because what, Jay? What would you say? 60% of this track has been ridden on. We've been riding on it for years here in MotoAmerica.
Yes. Yeah, I agree with you. I think that about 60% of it is about what we're used to. We've taken out a corner, I believe they call it Witchcraft, that generally is the one that separates the two tracks. It gets very dusty, and the consistency with some of the bumps and the dirtiness of the track always seem to cause riders some trouble, and that's right before the attitudes. We've taken that turn out now because of the direction, the track that we're going now, running the shorter version. And I actually like it a little bit better going up into the attitudes. As we get another lap under our belt, lap 8 of 14. These guys are consistently running in the minute 32 range. The guys behind them are consistently in the 33s, probably about 0.6 of a second off.
So they're just going through turn number 2, which is called fast, and then into turn number 3 goes Hayden Gillim. That's called faster. And then they go into turn 4, which is gotcha, which is where these guys are headed right now. The battle for third place. SDK, Sean Dillon Kelly, number 40, number 54, Escalante. It's as tight as you like it there. A couple tenths of a second separating these two. Freshly 17 years old. Can't say enough about the maturation of Sean Dillon Kelly. Spent a number of years over in Europe. He's now back in the States, trying to put his stamp on this championship. And so far, for the young rider SDK, sits 4th in this championship with 4 podiums and 6 tries.
And you know tomorrow he'll hold on to these leaders a lot more. This is what's so great about Sean Dillon Kelly and the great team he's got around him. They'll get together after this race. They'll try to bridge this gap to these guys. And so far this year in the championship, we've seen all of our front runners make big mistakes. And I think they've all taken the chance to take a little bit of a deep breath and think, okay, I'm still in this championship and I've had some bad races, including the gentleman out in front right now. Hayden Gillim's had a couple bad races, but he finds himself leading the championship coming into this West Coast Series where I feel like he'll have, I'm not going to say an advantage, Greg, but I think he's going to be happy to not see tracks with some of the bigger, longer straightaways, being here, Laguna, and Sonoma.
Yeah, no doubt about it. We call them oftentimes rider tracks, but this particular race course, as they come across the stripe, 33-1, 33-1 for both of them. So they're not necessarily setting the world on fire. They've backed off the pace from their fastest laps 0.8.
Right, and I think that that's going to be looking at tires, and some of the things are going to be, first time we've been here, first time we've really raced here. So we're going to see how much that pace actually goes off. 32.3 being our fastest lap so far by both riders. So they're about 0.8 off of where they are, off what we know that they can do.
Deep in the field, Nick McFadden in 9th spot on Rickdiculous Racing. Set a time of a 1:34.7. That's his personal best. So McFadden getting a little quicker as this one goes on. This will not surprise me, Jason, if we get to about lap 12 and we start to see these lap times drop again. And it definitely won't surprise me if we see on the last lap of this race the fastest lap of the race set.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I'm trying to watch. Greg and I watch our screens pretty intently, so we can tell you if we see people doing fast splits, even coming from behind or whatever. You see Josh Hayes getting in a little bit sideways. That's where Bryce Prince was able to make the move on him in between turns 6 and 7. Looked like Josh's bike was just backed in enough to where he didn't have the confidence to just kind of throw it in there, G-Dub, and Bryce was able to just take advantage of that.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to talk to Hayes after this race because it just looks like a little bit of focus on his part. Fong still as close as you like. Slightly different lines. One of the talking points about the M4 ECSTAR Suzuki this season has been the drive off the corner. And that time, Bobby got a good one. And as I'm looking, Jason, when they come across start-finish line, Bobby Fong doesn't look to be pushing the issue.
Doesn't look stressed, does he?
No, because he's actually closing the throttle and getting on the brakes later than Hayden is.
Yeah.
That oftentimes to me is a sign of a very comfortable rider.
Yep, he looks really, really chill just sitting back there. And you can see he's able to make up a little time in between that turn 3 and 4 section. He lets the bike just kind of run from that fast right into the left. But right now, Bobby just looks very comfortable hanging out on the back. I'm just curious of where Bobby is thinking about where he thinks he might be able to have the better of Hayden. Into which corner that might be. You can see you're exactly right, Greg. He's just kind of following right now.
I mean, I've seen Bobby's body position enhanced when he's really on it, and right now he just looks comfortable. That'd be something else. I mean, both riders in the 132.3 range for the fastest.
Wow, Bobby looked good through there. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Greg.
Right,
really fast there.
I mean, literally, Jason, only what? 5 thousandths of a second separate these two riders in terms of the fastest lap they were able to accomplish a few laps ago. And that, I mean, I thought once Hayden got by that we might see him just
check out.
Yeah.
No, he ran 31.9 this morning and ran a consistent just batch of low 32s. But you can see what Bobby has done is they've probably made a little bit of changes to his bike in between that qualifying session and our first race here of the weekend for the 600s, and they've made his bike a little better, and he looks really comfortable doing these low 32s.
Watch the attitude when they come and sit up. See, yeah, Bobby, I mean, he was already up and out of the saddle, out of the tuck, I should say, rolling off the gas and getting on the brakes long before Gillim was.
And then these two are locked in it too, and you can see, again, Sean Dillon Kelly's got the bike just completely straight, perfect, looking through there. Escalante's a little bit sideways. Looked like he was thinking about it, didn't it?
Well, it looked like he just kind of had a run on him and was like, whoa, I got to slow down. There's no room there.
Yeah.
And Escalante loses a couple bike lengths. That's a good indicator if we see Richie just close right back up on him if he's got speed on SDK. So Escalante, 54. Sean Dillon Kelly on the 40. Back up front we go to Hayden Gillim. Purple and yellow, Rickdiculous Racing, number 69. M4 ECSTAR Suzuki's Bobby Fong has been hounding him after Fong relegated the lead early in this race when Gillim took it over. And now it just looks like it's a waiting game for Fong. Weird in this valley right now, Jay, because you look up in the sky there, it looks really crystal clear, but in some parts it's getting dark.
It's getting dark in some areas around us, but we've seen that a lot while we've been here. But the track, over our track right now, is tremendous. The hardest part here for being Bobby Fong is you know that wherever you're going to make this decision to pass, it's got to be a really big commitment. You got to have that commitment to make that pass. So it'll be interesting to see where that's going to be. Here's a good look at both riders come through our last corner.
Look at that suspension work, and it looks very good and sorted out for the M4 ECSTAR Suzuki team. Bobby Fong looking very relaxed in our high-speed slow-mo shot. Looking at his right hand, Jay, just looking at the attitude of the drive onto the front straightaway. Who has worked their tires more? It's a shorter race. I mean, obviously Dunlop is very comfortable with 14 laps being able to be put on these tires. Tomorrow, same tires have to go 19. So So I don't think traction is going to be much of an issue.
Getting a little bit of a gap now. You notice that? So let's keep an eye. Like you said, Greg, you might start seeing some fast lap times with 2 or 3 laps to go. Right now, Hayden Gillim looks like he's on one here. It looks like he's trying really hard to break away ever so slightly. It's the biggest gap we've seen, which is really not much of a gap at all, but he's definitely opened up ever so slightly on Bobby Fong. Bobby looked great coming out of there, out of turn 7. So this is where he's also gained a little bit of time right in the middle. Bobby's pretty good from this left to the right. Takes a little bit more of a direct straight line. You can see the difference in lines between the two riders there as they come down through those attitudes that we're talking about.
Off in the distance, I saw some lap traffic. Not sure if there's enough time for them to catch that lap traffic, but if they do, that could be a factor, so keep an eye on that. So now 7 or 8 bike lengths separate Bobby Fong from Hayden Gillim. Has Fong been playing with him all this time? What kind of lap times are we going to see when they cross our finish line?
Bobby's back on him though now, Greg. He's really put his head down in this second sector. He only lost a 10th in the first, but it's just a little bit big of a gap to try to make a lunge with 2 laps to go.
Does Bobby sit up a little early? I don't know about that one. Hayden just total control of that motorcycle. Gets it to lean angle so early on the brakes. So confident. Battle for third.
And you can see Escalante just likes to turn in a little bit earlier in there. And he's thinking about it in turn 1 because SDK kind of runs it in, lets it drift out a little bit. And Richi Escalante's bike looks like it turns really nicely in the middle of that corner.
Yeah, but where would he take it? That's really the issue. Is if he could slide underneath them in turn 1, where do you take it from there?
That's the hardest part. And you can see Bobby now. They go through some lap traffic over there in the 6-7, but Bobby has closed that gap that we thought was kind of getting a little bigger. It's now closed right back down, and here you go. Sean Dillon Kelly going into turn 6 and 7 with Richie Escalante right behind him.
Good double apex corner. Way to work it there for SDK. So Escalante making up a lot of his time in the back section of this 2.2 mile Utah Motorsports Campus road race course.
Where's he going to do it, Greg? Like where do you, like you see Bobby kind of closes up here. That's where Hayden had got by him on the first lap of the race. And as they come down here, you're going to notice that Hayden opens up the last corner just a little bit more than Bobby. Bobby direct lines it. This time he doesn't. This time he kind of actually goes even wider than Hayden did through the middle at the entry. Trying to get a drive onto that front straightaway, isn't he?
He's trying. Didn't really work. I mean, he's got a drive on him, but it's not going to be a draft and pass. And that start-finish line comes up so quick after that the final corner. So the final lap of competition, Escalante has taken over third spot from SDK. So Escalante didn't even need to try that move into turn number 1, but he knows he's a little quicker. White flag is flying on this one. Lap traffic for this battle for the final spot on the podium. Hayden Gillim out front, being in control. Does Bobby Fong have anything on this one? Here we go. Fong, right there. Not going to do it.
Almost looked like he was trying to open it up to try to do something in the middle, but Hayden's really good through here, and he uses a lot of exits. I was out here watching earlier. He's on the curbing. As you can see there, he gets out on the curb, and this is going into the attitudes. Now, Bobby's next real shot, Greg, has to be 3 corners from the end. I believe it's turn 13. He's close down through here, really solid down through there is Bobby, but he's got to get a really good run out of this next left-hander, and then he might be able to do something with Hayden as he comes out of this left. Let's see if he gets a good enough drive. They're both out on the curbing, Greg, but it's just too much of a gap there.
Hayden Gillim looks like he's done a good job. There is traffic in the way, and it gets awfully tight in this section. Are they going to run into it, or is Hayden going to have a clean run at it? Through turn 14 windup. Next up, the release, the drive onto the straightaway. Bobby, does he launch to the apex? He tried, but there was too much room between them. Here comes Hayden Gillim. He's on the straightaway, on the gas, in the tuck. Bobby Fong in the draft. Does he have enough? It's got to be Hayden Gillim to the line, and he'll take the win.
Great run from both of these guys. Again, a very difficult track to pass on. Hayden Gillim looked tremendous. Here's the battle for third. Richie Escalante was able to break away from Sean Dillon Kelly in the closing laps to end up getting that final spot on the podium.
So how about Hayden Gillim extending his lead in the championship over his rival Bobby Fong? Grabs another 5 points in his 4th win of 2019. What a race. Oh, he's got to be pumped. because he did it with pressure, constant pressure from Bobby Fong.
Yeah, well, it's good when you're leading the points and you come to a track that you feel you should win at. That's an important 5 points in the championship for Hayden Gillim. It's a big win for the Rickdiculous racing team. We saw them doing some struggles at the beginning of the year, but it seems like they're starting to find their way now. And having a look at his rear tire there, good win for Hayden.
So it's Gillim, Fong, Escalante. That's going to be the podium. SDK just off the box. That is by 0.6 of a second. Then you have PJ Jacobson in 5th, Bryce Prince, Josh Hayes in 7th, Braden Ort in 8th, Nick McFadden in 9th, Lucas Silva in 10th, Jason Aguilar, Ashton Yates in 12th. Good result for Ashton Yates.
Yeah, that was a big battle between 12th all the way back to 16th with Caroline Olsen there. So you saw Ashton Yates, Jarrett Nassani, Corey Ventura, Carlos Abraham Garcia gets our final point today.
And in terms of looking forward, it looks like Bobby Fong will be credited with the fastest lap of the race at a 1:32.381, which will put this rider on pole position for tomorrow's Supersport race. Hayden Gillim will be 2nd. And it looks like Escalante is going to be 3rd with Sean Dillon Kelly in 4th spot. Just a quick look at the results that we see.
Yep.
Should be the running order for tomorrow, as things are done a little differently this weekend because of our abbreviated schedule. So another podium appearance for Richi Escalante.
Oh, he went up underneath him after, he just actually straight lined it, Greg, from turn 13 to 14 to Escalante, and he was able to just slide up underneath Sean Dillon Kelly there. So
that's just a good position pass.
Great position pass, yeah, very well put. Yeah, no, you got to make, but when you have a track like this where the speeds are so alike, you just got to make that commitment. You got to say, okay, I'm doing it this lap, and that's what he was able to do.
Well, for Escalante, that's going to be his 3rd podium of the year. A 3rd place and 2 second place finishes for him. It's been a drought for the rider from Mexico City. Hasn't been on the box since Virginia race number 1. He snaps that drought. But Bobby Fong with a great race. Very entertaining for the fans as Fong continued to put the pressure on Hayden Gillim. But Gillim just too much at the end. They're going to be looking at a couple things, I think. You know, like I said before, Jason, the Suzuki being known for those drives off the corner. And I think they're going to work on how his M4 ECSTAR Suzuki gets off the final corner for tomorrow. Hayden Gillim, a 1/10 of a second over Bobby Fong. Then 10 seconds adrift was that battle between Escalante and SDK. PJ Jacobson, a lonely ride for him. He was 8 seconds away from 4th place. Then Bryce Prince and Josh Hayes. Braden Ort, 8th place for the Canadian on the Graves Kawasaki. And Nick McFadden in 9th spot. Good ride by Lucas Silva on that GSXR 600. Lucas Silva on that 23 machine on that Utah Motorsports, riding the same bike as our 2nd place finisher Fong, and 4th place Sean Dillon Kelly. Team Amaro runs M4 ECSTAR Suzuki, the technical partner for the Utah Motorsports team. Yates, Nassani, Ventura, and then Caroline Olsen, Benjamin Smith, and Aaron Graham.
Yeah, Greg, it's really interesting. I'm sitting here thinking about what changes Bobby might want to make for tomorrow. We'll probably get to hear a little bit from him as far as how his race went, what he did, what he studied, and the crew chiefs and mechanics. Right now is the time when they're going to start getting busy.
Winner's Circle, Parc Ferme as well. Bikes parked in there to begin the celebrations of a Race 1 Supersport race well done. Fans out here in motorhomes for the last couple days, flags are flying. And when you're here in the Tuella Valley, that's not much of wind.
That's not much of a wind. Yeah, no, right now we're pretty lucky. We just got a little breeze right now. But yeah, we've definitely seen it a lot windier than this.
Let's get down to Hannah Lopa, who has our 3rd place finisher, Richi Escalante.
Richie, another 3rd place finish for you today. How were you able to pass Sean Dillon Kelly for a podium spot?
Yes, so difficult race. I feeling a little bit more, so I try to more intelligent finish the race. So I'm learning a lot behind Sean, and then I say, okay, I feeling a little bit better, so I tried the pass. So it's nice to back to the podium again. It's very good point. So we'll see tomorrow. I try to improve in the warm up, and let's go.
Thanks, Richie.
Oh, he wants to go again.
Yeah.
So saying that it was an intelligent race for himself, and I like that, yeah.
And he said, he's like, I got good points. And I think that's kind of the point I was trying to make. A lot of these guys have had some mistakes. Richie hasn't. He's been finishing all these races. So it's great to see him get that bike back up on the podium and feeling confident about it. Hopefully make some changes overnight, because right now those two guys in front, they have 6/10 over the next group behind them. That's a big gap.
Yeah, for Richi Escalante, his worst finish so far this season has been 7th place. As for this rider, well, he put up the fight of fights, but he finishes 2nd. Bobby Fong with Hannah.
A very close 2nd place finish for you today. Where were you looking for an opportunity to get around Hayden?
There was some spots he was a little bit better than me, and it was just kind of changing back to back. Like one side of the track he was a little bit better than me, and then the next I was. So I couldn't really get close enough to make a move, but I'm happy to get 2nd, get some points, and move on to tomorrow. I think we can make a few adjustments, and we're happy. And again, we're on the podium, so can't wait till tomorrow.
Thanks, Bobby. Congrats.
5th podium of the year for Bobby Fong. Forgetful VIR for him. They just wanted to take that whole thing out. If you could drop one entire weekend, that would be the one for that team. But so far, when Bobby Fong finishes those races, Jason, it's 1st or 2nd.
Yeah, and like you say, he had 2 horrendous races at VIR. He sits 2nd in the championship. So now Bobby's realizing, hey, I got to just keep racking up those points, because there's going to be a lot of different people taking shots at these two guys throughout the course of the year, from Sean Dillon Kelly to PJ Jacobson. Richi Escalante will be up there. Obviously, Josh Hayes at different races that we go to. So at any point, people can get in between these guys. So he'll make some changes overnight, and he'll start from pole tomorrow.
So we have a couple of Yamahas and a Suzuki, but to the spoils goes the victor. Hayden Gillim with another win on the season. He's with Hannah.
4th win of the season for you, Hayden. What do you think it was today that gave you the advantage over Bobby? You were able to hold him off.
The beginning of the race, I had really, really good grip, and I knew from practice that I was going to lose it pretty fast. And in practice, I was able to go really fast. I had some problems. I was able to do a couple laps, and then I started feeling weak and everything, and kind of happened to get in the race. But we got to work on a few things. He was right there the whole time. Coming off into the last couple corners, there's a big screen there. I was kind of seeing what the gap was like, and man, it was a good race. I knew I had to get into the lead early, and yeah, we did it. Was able to ride a clean race, not a lot of mistakes, and we're on top. So this is really good. Happy for the team. I'm happy for myself. Get a few points, and just looking forward to tomorrow.
Thanks, Hayden.
You can hear him say the grip went off a little bit, getting a little bit tired. This track, as short as it is, it's very, very physical. This was the pass for the league grade, and you can see the commitment's made right now. And now it's a matter of I got to get up just close enough to him. And I try to tell a lot of people, you don't always have to make the pass all the way through. If you can get up alongside somebody to where it makes it more difficult for them to tip in, that's really all you have to do. And that's exactly what Hayden was able to do there. Just get up alongside Bobby, disrupt his flow ever so slightly, and then he led the race from the front, which is another thing that's pretty hard to do.
And make no mistake, when we talk about this racetrack being physically demanding, it's really no rest, and that means mentally as well. You always have to be on it.
Yep.
Because you have a corner that's coming up next, and you've got to be on it. All right, so here's the points. 12 now for Hayden Gillim over Bobby Fong. Escalante in 3rd, continues to hold on to that position. Pulling away from SDK for the moment by 6. You have PJ Jacobson, race winner from earlier on in the season, in 5th spot. Josh Hayes will stay in 7th spot. Nick McFadden. So no big movers in this one at all after this race. Well, Jason, a lot of work for these teams to do overnight to try to get the bikes a little quicker, to try to close this gap on Hayden Gillim.
Yeah, when you look at the beginning of this race, we had a 21-point lead between 1st and 5th. Now these two guys at the front, Hayden Gillim and Bobby Fong, are separating themselves a little bit. So yeah, we'll see how they shoot out tomorrow.